relationships. Let's talk about relationships. They can be an area of life that can be rather easy for a lot of people. They don't think much of them. It can be a breeze, and they just don't really bother with relationships. They sort of go about in a way where they're meeting people and they're really experiencing the lovely, more lovely aspects of relationship, the kinder, more gentle, more graceful, and more harmonious aspects of relationship. Then there are those who take it more seriously. Then there are those who struggle with relationship. And I'm going to get into the reasons why they struggle. And, what it's really all about when it comes to why people with Saturn in the 7th house struggle with relationships and how can they work on themselves and heal themselves and evolve themselves to have better relationships. The whole idea around this episode of the Cosmic Sky podcast is about having a long-term relationship. And you need a lot of things to have a long-term relationship. You could need, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about, what is required to really have a long-term relationship. A relationship that is long-lasting. And, what is a long-term relationship? They are committed partnerships. And so long-term relationships, the partners need to really understand each other. And the partners need to really, really respect each other and their own values, their likes, their dislikes, and respect them for being who they are. They're being themselves. Just being themselves. If you can have a relationship where the two partners are respecting you just for being who you are, and you're also respecting them, and you're forming healthy compromises, and you're doing all this, then that is a successful relationship. That is a relationship that is built for the long term. That is a relationship that can be, plus 2 years lasting, because the relationship is a very, very deep, very loyal relationship. So, all right. Yeah. And, as you get to know the person more, you develop a closer bond with them, develop a closer, relationship with them in a kind of way. So, all right. The thing with Saturn in the 7th house people, I am one of them. So I had this placement, and I relate to a lot of these things that are that I'm going to be discussing in this video with Saturn in the 7th house. The thing about this placement is they really, really take relationships seriously. I mean, they take it so incredibly seriously. It's unbelievable. They really, really commit. They put their nose to the grindstone. They put their ducks in a row. They put the roof on top of the house. They put the couch in the living room. I mean, they do it all. They are very, very serious about making the relationship best. However, there's an evolved version of Saturn in the 7th house, and then there is a less evolved version of this placement. I'm going to get into both of these different versions of this placement, how we can look at, really how it can evolve and grow and become a more, liberated version of itself, because you don't want to be confined in relationships. You want to be your free self in relationship. So they often come across in a very, 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 very focused way, where they are so serious and they are so disciplined and committed to that relationship to make it work. I mean, they will do anything they will go out of their way to make the relationship work. I mean, they will do anything on earth to make that relationship successful, even if they have to do multiple things for that. That's what it can really come down to, is this desire for the the top-notch cream of the crop relationship. And that's what you're aiming for in this life. And I'm going to tell you how you can get there. So this is a how-to video on having long-term relationships. You can almost think of it that way, very, very easily. So what you really want is long-term relationships. You want something stable, something that gives you a very, very solid, secure foundation under your feet, something that can give you, stability. Like, Saturn represents the foundations that we build upon our family, our house, our livelihood, our individual pieces of sovereignty that we build off of. The job that we have, the relationship that we have, all these material foundations. Like Capricorn is the material foundations because you need a foundation to build off of, otherwise you're just not going to have a building. And Cancer is the emotional foundations, and often these things intertwine. Capricorn looks more pragmatically, Cancer looks more emotionally. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, Cancer is ruled by the Moon. So Saturn and the Moon are like opposite energies in astrology. So you want something long-lasting. There is a deep need here for security in relationship. Now, I have my Saturn in Cancer and my Moon in Libra, Saturn in the 7th house. That basically says I need to be in a relationship. I need to be in a loving, emotionally resonant, and tender, and nourishing relationship. I need a relationship where I feel at home. And I'm not feeling hurt by the other. I mean, that's what my Saturn placement spells out for me. So I have Saturn in Cancer at around 7 degrees in the 7th house of my chart. So, when you make promises to people, when you promise people that you're going to do things, you're promising you're going to take out the trash, or, be there for them at this game, or be there for them at this, career festival, career fair, or be it for the job promotion or the retirement day, or be at this family gathering, or be at a wedding, or whatever it is. Whatever promise that you're making. You make these promises to the people that you really care about. Like, don't just make promises to just anybody. Don't just make promises to the people that you're trying to harmonize with and trying to find peace with, but you don't like these people. They're not good for you. They're not right for you. They're not healthy for you to be around. Like, don't invest your time and energy into those people. You have the freedom to do that in this life. So, for the people that you care about, you promise these people certain things and you keep them. You don't, you're not, airy fairy and, pie in the sky and just having hot air with saying, I'm going to do this great thing, and then you don't do it. Well, you do it. There isn't a single promise that you make that you don't deliver on in relationships. So whatever you speak to, you deliver on. That's just naturally what you do to others. There's a slowness here. Like, know that relationships are like it's not an overnight thing to have a successful relationship. It is going to take time. It is going to take dedication. It is going to take work. Really, really getting to know the person well, so that you can have a dedicated long-term relationship. Like, you don't just know somebody, just all of a sudden, and then just form this great relationship. A lot of the sometimes you really click, and then other times it takes time for you to really, really get to know the person, and know how they tick, and get you really, really understand them well enough to where you want to find people that are right for you, that maybe have your common interests, and that their personalities right. But it does take time to get to know anyone, really. Everybody. I'm going to say everybody. It takes time to get to know everybody. So this is where it becomes really, really important to take your time. Get to know the person very, very well before you invest into marriage or engagement or whatever you do in relationships, or tree trunking, or grass planting, or picture framing. Whatever it is, it takes time. And so it's very, very important to accept responsibility for the relationships. Like, with great power comes great responsibility. That which is a Churchill quote. That is the truth. So accepting that in relationships there are certain responsibilities that need to happen. Relationships are going to take work and effort, and they're going to take you being responsible and accountable for your actions. And accepting, acknowledging others' responsibilities. Like knowing your responsibilities and acknowledging, like, hey, they were so responsible. They did all these things to me. They, were very, very good for me, and they really stepped in, and they really stepped up to the plate, and they really put their best foot forward, and they made it the best that it could be, and they stepped up, and they took initiative to make the relationship work. So what they're really looking for is peace. Being with others is rough. And what they really want is peace. They want serenity. They want, being on their own in that relationship. They want to be on their own. Like, I need relationship, but I also need freedom. I also need alone time to just do my own thing and have the freedom to do what I am passionate about and do what I really enjoy doing within relationship. It's like I cannot just live alone and survive in this world on my own. I need somebody by my side that can support me. But I don't want to be confined to the certain rules and conditions with that. I want the freedom to be myself within the context of being with somebody else. Like, that is me. Like that is my Aries, Libra, Saturn in the 7th house dynamic really, really going on in my chart. So you need peace. You absolutely need peace and, tranquility. Now, it is fair to say that this place, you could say that, well, there's people, this is such a sad thing to say. People with Saturn, like, I read this from a book by the evolutionary astrologer who is very, very good. And his name is Stephen Force. And I read his book on Yesterday's Sky, and he brought up, like I read the whole book, in one section he brought up Saturn in the 7th house. And I'm thinking to myself, I have that placement. Out of all the placements you're talking about this one. And he spoke about, well, in this life, you're going to have relationships that you're going to be later in life. They're going to be delayed. And you're going to have problems getting the relationship started. Like, guess what? I don't want that to be my reality. That's sad. I want to take initiative. Okay. That could happen to anyone, really. Anyone could have, delayed relationship later in life, really. Why does it have to be, why are they doomed to have a relationship that is later in life when they could have it now? I don't know where life will take me. I don't know if I'll even be in a relationship or not. Possibly I will have someone to be there to help support me and help guide me along with managing certain details of my life that I may need some support and some guidance managing to just get through the world. Just even, going to my car in the parking garage. Like I can't imagine doing that, because finding your car and being able to find that, going to a place and traveling to a hotel on your own, like I need somebody to be there for me and support me and make me feel safe and comfortable to live my life, and so that I'm not overwhelmed and so afraid and so intimidated by the challenges and the difficulties that life has to offer, really. So, yeah. But not to say that people with Saturn in the 7th house have difficulties with forming relationships for the, meeting people later in life. I mean, I don't think that is true to say. So, you may have certain obstacles that are commonplace for the interpretation. There may be challenges in relationships. That may be. But. You do have challenges in terms of relationships, and that is true, but certain things that are not true, and I kind of spelled them out here right now, kind of just spelled them here out. But relationships are, kind of a struggle, something that you're kind of like a lifelong area to work on. Like you need to work on this. Because Saturn requires you to put in the work. Well, like Saturn is not like, oh, it's easy and hands you everything on a platter, and it's so easy and so, easy to, get into, relationships, and oh, it's a breeze, and oh, I don't have to do any work at all. Like Saturn demands that you empower yourself and you step up and you take responsibility for your life and you put in the work to make it happen. That you push yourself to make it happen. Saturn requires work. And this is an area of life which needs a lot of time and a lot of dedication to make it work. And that's fair for any Saturn placements. Really. Whatever house or sign Saturn falls in your chart is an area which needs a lot of work in your life. So, okay. So, you hold on to things very, very easily. You remember when somebody that you love passes away, and you hold on to how it's like, you have to understand, Saturn is about the past. And it's very, very cold and negative at worst. Where it can remember, it can dwell and fixate on all the negative situations going on in life. Of all what is going wrong, of all that is just not going according to plan or whatever. So, you tend to, remember that, first of all. And also, relationships where, you also remember, like, where you maybe, screwed up or messed up in relationships. You remember the relationship that wasn't as successful, wasn't as, light and fluffy and, walk in the park or whatever. The relationships where you did wrong, where you said wrong, where you did wrong, where you weren't kind as you could have been, as faithful as you could have been, and so you hold on to that. And guess what? You tend to be so hard on yourself in relationships. So hard on yourself when things go wrong. And so hard on yourself. And I'm going to get into that more. Saturn wants you to learn from your mistakes. I mean, Saturn is the ultimate Earth Lord of astrology. I'm currently going through the Saturn signs right now. So next up on the list is Taurus, and that's going to be very, very different. When I get to Saturn and Libra, there's going to be a lot of crossover, a lot of similarities of Saturn and Libra and Saturn in the 7th. So a lot of these things are going to be similar when I get to that episode. But Saturn wants you to you're human, like, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to have, errors, and you're going to have, wrong or incorrect actions that you act on, and they're going to be mistakes. However, when you get down, do you stay down, or do you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and say, you know what? I'm not going to dwell on this. I'm not going to let this impact my life or my future or my present. And I'm not going to let this get the better of me, but I made this mistake, and I learned Saturn asks you to learn the lessons. Saturn's karma. Learn the lessons of your past so that you don't have it come back again in your life. Like, look at the lessons in your past to see, oh, I'm looking at these events, and these are the lessons from these events, and I'm going to improve next time. I'm going to do better and do differently next time. And you're growing from these mistakes. I mean, Saturn demands that you grow. Saturn is not here for you to just come in this life and be the same person that you were when you came in to the point you had. Like, no. In this life, you start at one level, and then you get to another level. That's how it is. So, now, with Saturn in the 7th house, if you have this placement, or if you're interested in this placement, this video is not just for people who have this placement. This is just for anyone who's curious about astrology and wants to learn more about it. So, and this is a podcast for those who are also enthusiastic about astrology and who want to go deep with it, who don't want just to, okay, the bare minimum of what you need to know, move on. Like, some YouTube videos like, okay, that's good. That's all I need to know. Okay, I'm good. Move on. Like, no. Not my astrology videos now. It takes just a little bit of skin in the game to watch these videos. Because they are longer and they are deeper than some. And yeah. So, anyway. All right. You are so sensitive to when people judge you. Oh my gosh, well. This resonates with me so much. I am so incredibly sensitive to people, and if they were to judge me, I am very, very sensitive to that. Very sensitive. Like, the tone that somebody uses, the delivery of what they say, the words that they say, and the sentences and what they say to me that sounds like a negative, or like maybe they don't, like my experience, because I have this placement. Maybe they don't necessarily mean anything critical or mean anything negative by what they say, but I just take it that way. But I don't show it. I take it, like I naturally take it that way, but then I think, oh well, the person means well, the person's not trying to hurt me or harm me or anything like that. They just are giving me their feedback and giving me their thoughts and their opinions. I don't have to take it so personally. Saturn in the 7th house, people, I'm telling you, judgments are suggestions. You don't have to apply them in your life. People are not trying to hurt you or harm you. They're just giving you their thoughts and opinions. And so it's so comforting. Like, you can take a breath on that fact. Like, it's like just breathe with what I just said. Like, take a breath. People are not out to get me. Because nobody's really out to get you. Okay, like I want to say to you, nobody is out to get you with their judgments. For those that are, it's important to discern those people. Those are not the right people for you. If they're judging you, or if they're, projecting their own judgments and negative feelings onto you, like, those people are not right for you. It comes down to being really, really sensitive to the people that are right for you, that do judge you, that are kind, that are decent, that are caring, individuals, caring people. So, I think just understanding that is very, very important for you. The thing is, you expect, you think that they expect so much of you because you expect so much of yourself. You think that others are being so hard on you, but really, you're being so hard on yourself. Like, just relax and stop being so judgmental over yourself. Just, calm it down. So, you think that they expect so much maturity and hard work and responsibility and dedication and properness and decorum and whatever it is. Like, you just have this feeling like people just expect so much from me. Like, oh my gosh, relationships are not fun. Like, to you, relationships are not fun. They're not a beautiful nice, easy thing, and to get along with another person is to connect with them. To form a meaningful relationship, get them into. We all need others. We all, we're all social creatures. We all need connection. We all need love and care and attention from others. And I feel just so sorry for you and myself because I have this placement. That you have to feel like relationships is this really, really serious thing. We have to do these things. Well, I'm not going to say that there are not serious aspects to relationships, but it's the reality and state of mind and perspective and state of being that you're living in that is all important. Like this placement is not saying, oh, just discard all the serious aspects of relationships entirely. That's not what I'm saying here. It's just loosen the grip on how critical and how hard those are on you. And because of all this criticism from others, you tend to just go on with it. Somebody gives you standards or rules, you just follow the rules. Because you want to be in their good graces. You want to be liked and appreciated in that person's eyes, in that person's mind, in that person's perspective. So you don't, you just do what they say, basically. So you really, really value individuals that are in your life, basically, that are part of your reality, a part of your day-to-day, reality. Who are in there, who like the niche things that they like those niche things that you like, those interests, cooking, fashion, planting, astrology in my case, history in my case, books, music, those are all the things I'm into. I want people, we naturally want people who have, as humans, we naturally want people who have, similar or the same interests as we have. And individuals who are very, very personal to you. That's very, very important. Like individuals that really, really match your center stage. Like individuals that really seem really, really huge for you in that kind of light is big. So you expect a lot of yourself when you're around others. You expect a lot out of yourself. You hold yourself to such a high standard that you're so strict that you must appear the certain way around people. You must be this perfect, mature person around people. Now, something that you should know about Saturn the 7th house people is that they are very, very catering to others. They tend to really, really cater to others when they are specifically, like the reason why I'm so outgoing and authentic and on here is because I'm doing it in the comfort of my own home, out to just a screen and a video, and a phone recording me, and a camera and a phone, and so of course I'm going to be, it's very, very obvious that you're more outgoing that way because you're doing it in your own skin and you're expressing yourself, yet it's going out to the public. So but when you are around other people, that changes, because you tend to really cater to them. in ways that you don't have, thing is, you're here to develop boundaries with people. You're not here to clean up their sided street that needs cleaning up. You're not here to take care of their physical health or their body. And, you do all these things just to be liked by others. There's a saying, and this is kind of an inappropriate saying, but I'm just going to throw it in here. Please excuse me for what I'm going to say, okay? Basically, excuse me. Well, I'm just going to say, kissing their you-know-what. Just to be liked by others. Like some people that kiss, kiss your butt or whatever. Just to be liked. You do not have to do things to be liked by others that compromise yourself. Developing boundaries in a relationship is important so that you're not just completely being inauthentic and just being so stuck in the seriousness of relationships where you're just giving yourself to relationships. You're giving yourself away and basically compromising who you are and what you value just for that other person. When you are by yourself, things are very, very different. It's kind of a different story. You let yourself go. You just let it go. Kind of like how Elsa was very, very uptight and very, trying to keep herself together and she was around the public. But when she was free, she let herself go. She released her powers, her ice powers, and built this beautiful palace and whatever. And when she found love for herself in her heart, she could then get rid of the severity of what she has created with the snow. It's about, this placement is about relationship, but don't think that it doesn't have to do with self-love, because it's very, very much about self-love. It's kind of like guilty pleasures. And what is a guilty pleasure? I want to look up what guilty pleasures are, because I think that it's very, very important here. If I can get this to load. Excuse me for a second. Guilty pleasures. Where you just, where you just let it go. Really. Doing something, really, just very careless and reckless things, basically. Doing just these very, very, just like, just very, very inappropriate things that you wouldn't do on your own. Just dress only in your underwear and your pants without a shirt on. Or, maybe it doesn't have to be this, but maybe just singing, watching shows that you like. I mean, these things that you do on your own, that you are ashamed of when it comes to being with others. When it comes to being with others in relationships. Like you feel ashamed of doing these things. Like it feels very, very difficult for you in a way to be able to do what you want to do on your own. Guilty pleasures. Guilty pleasures are just things that you indulge in. A show, a book, food, or drugs. And it's like this message that, like, I shouldn't be doing this. And so you keep feeding it over and over again because you shouldn't be doing it. And these things are not necessarily, follow social norms of what is socially acceptable. That you just, it's, and, your mindset is like, I'm free. I'm finally free. I don't have to deal with him anymore. I can just, laze around and just, eat potato chips all the time, or eat cake, or, drink, smoke cocaine, or, or just sing to the top of my lungs, or scream, or just strain my voice, or whatever. Finally, woohoo! It's like that's what that's what you're thinking to yourself, like, it's like you have a filter, like it's almost like you have different sides of yourself. You have one side which is so serious and so proper and very disciplined and very well working and well bred and mature and responsible and appropriate. Then you have the other side of you, which couldn't be any more farther from that, which is, freedom, not taking your life so seriously, just binging, watching around, doing all these kind of things like that. So, you have different sides to you. And you do these things that that others, if they saw you, if they were to see you do these things, they would completely shut you out or disapprove of you, or just totally push you down and overlook you and not like you anymore because of the things that you're doing. Like that's what you feel like. That's your mindset that you have. When it comes to basically, going around the world and, operating and, living, is that kind of mindset. So, as you grow, you lean more into what you feel embarrassed by, and you accept these parts of yourself. Part of it is about, a big part of it is about accepting yourself. Accepting that you're going to have these parts to yourself. These really, really, quirky, weird, unique, not socially acceptable parts of yourself that makes you who you are as a soul living a human experience. And it's about integrating these things and accepting these things. It's about releasing the uptight standards that you have for yourself. When it comes to being in relationships, when it comes to operating relationships in the right way. That's really, what it comes down to. So, releasing these things. And at the high road, it's like the biggest step that you can make is by going as far as bringing others into what you do when you're on your own. You let others see your true colors. You let others see, the true you. The part of you that you're ashamed of showing in front of others. And you accept that. And you choose the relationships that are going to be, long-term, and the people that are right for you, the people that will respect you for who you are and will respect and accept all these things that you're going to do that you judge yourself for not being proper around others, and you hold yourself back from doing these things around others because you want to put up be appropriate, be serious, image around people. But the huge lesson of this is choosing the right partner, choosing the right relationship. And it may take time too. But that's the beauty of long-term relationships. That's the thing. It does take time. It does take time. So you're not doomed to meeting people later in life. You're just, as I said, so I'm just going to move on to another point in this. So, you're learning to accept humiliation, guilt, and these feelings are assigned to be more lighthearted in your life. Being more lighthearted, not taking, wearing the world as a loose garment, not taking the world so seriously, your life so seriously. So, not taking relationships so seriously, not taking others so seriously. Just, it's about lightening up, lighten up around people. And so, you're going, it's basically saying, I want to break the boundaries. I want to push the envelope. I want to go beyond what my environment, the rules of my environment and the limitations of the environment that I am in. I want to stretch myself and be even more lighthearted than I already am. Now you see others as these serious teachers, these serious Saturnian authority figures who are out to, get you and expect so much of you and top down and, seeing just the people in your life is, oh my gosh, how I relate to this so much. Even people your own age. I so relate to this. Seeing all these people as authorities, as these bosses, as these very, very strict top-down teachers who are very, very, harsh if you mess up, who are very demanding and expect a lot from you. Like, that's your perception of others in a relationship. Be around those who don't make you feel that way. That's very, very important. So, the lesson here is that it's okay to be messy. And you're not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to be this perfect, put together person with who you are emotionally. In relationships. You're not this perfect, neat and tidy, picture perfect, framed person. If you do things and you get messy because of doing them, then that's because you've lived. That's because you've had real experiences. And in order to have a real experience, it's not going to be this perfect thing where you're going to have it go absolutely, pristinely, and everything's going to be fine, and everyone's going to be, proper and excellently right and responsible and whatever. That's not life. And that's the beauty of life. As I was doing this episode on the internet cut out, and we're trying to get that fixed right now. We got it reconnected, and so we're working on right now, literally as I'm doing this episode. So that's why I paused there, is because somebody was talking to me about that. But anyway, things happen, in life. So yeah. So alrighty. Now, you're human. You are human. You're gonna, make a mess and do all those things. Because it's part of who you are. You're not meant to be a perfect person. So you're meant to choose a partner who will not judge you, who will not judge you for being who you are. That is good for you for the long term. The partner won't put you under a microscope and, be analyzing your every move and be, objectively looking at, all these things. Someone who will accept you for who you are and what you do outside of what you do around others. Because around others, you are so, put so much pressure on yourself to be, right, absolutely right. So, loosening that, and that's somebody that you need in your life. Relationships can be centers of education for you. That's what they can also be. They can be very, very educational. We can learn a lot in that relationship. Where you look at the parts of you that basically you wanted to reject, deny, and disown. Namely, the more private parts of yourself that you do not show to others. Namely, the parts of yourself that you don't want to show in front of relationships, that you don't want to put yourself out there in relationships as showing those traits. Parts of you that that you hide away, that you only show on your own. So you're also becoming more evolved in your life, more self-aware, more aware of why you do what you do, how it comes from you, why you're so, critical of yourself. And it's about finding relationships that help you relax. And that is a true long-term relationship. The relationships where you can just breathe and just relax. Like if the person, like if you're in a relationship with somebody, and then the person is very, very, seems to be very, very strict and very, very uptight and very mean and negative and harsh and critical and judgmental, then that's not right for you. You want to be with somebody who just helps you to relax in that relationship. So it's about taking responsibility in this relationship. Does not just mean taking your actions into account, but also means looking at how displaced loyalty shows up, where you're being unfaithful, where the partner's being unfaithful, and how all these unjustified expectations show up. Of all these non-realistic expectations that the other partner may expect from you, that you think the other partner expects from you, but they don't really. Maybe in the past, maybe in your past, maybe in your childhood growing up or past lives, you probably avoided, real connections with others. And that's what you had going on for yourself. Is avoiding all these meaningful connections, where you chose partners who were not right to you and you had to put up with them, and be with partners who were mean, who didn't share your same interests, who didn't want to talk with you, who didn't want to be with you, who didn't want to share their life with you, who weren't compassionate, who weren't considerate, checks off all those boxes. And perhaps you stayed in that relationship longer than you stayed in that relationship past the expiration date. Well, when you had that expiration date, and boom, you just went right past that, and you stayed in the relationship, and you didn't get yourself out of that relationship. Like, Libra South Node, it's like, I'm staying in a relationship just for the security of it, because I can't be strong and independent on my own, and so I'm just relying on the other, but it holds me back from me being me. So that's really what it's all about. And so what you do have is you have the patience and dedication out of the wazoo required for relationships to work. You have the desire for balance and harmony and fairness. You want relationships to be peaceful and fair, because the 7th house corresponds to Libra. You want things to be fair, in those relationships. All you need is the right relationship for you. It's about being present with these relationships. Being present with them. Integrating all the shadowy aspects of yourself about who you show up as being in relationships. And developing healthier relationships. Where you are more self-aware of yourself. So that's what this ultimately comes down to. So that is all that I have on the on Saturn in the 7th house in the natal chart. I'm going to, put this video together, and I hope that you really, really enjoyed it and found this video valuable and meaningful. I hope that you follow this podcast on Spotify. I hope that you found this a good use of your time and attention to spend your time with me. So thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate your time and attention. And your dedication to see this all the way at the towards the end. Tune in for tomorrow's episode on the I believe it's going to be on the astrological event for the week of April 26th through May 2nd of this year, which I believe will be the full moon in Scorpio happening around the end of April, beginning of the May. So I'll do the collective video for that, and I'll do the 12 sign readings, what you need to know for your 12 signs, separately, on separate days, so I'm not exhausted by it, so that you can have, the collective and the 12 signs. Those are the next videos that I'll be doing on this podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you in the next episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast. Take good care.